Chapter 19. I don't get it, Keith said for what had to be the 10th time. I mean, seriously, where did the arrow mark come from? Everyone had retested themselves, and Keith was the only one who showed any traces. Even Sylvanie was completely clear. Maybe Elvin missed something when he tweeted you, Sophie suggested. How? He melted off my skin. Sophie wished she knew what to tell him. The stalking device wasn't even with them anymore, so Elvin must have made a mistake. Guess this means I'm going back to the healing center, Keith grumbled, kicking a pebble in the grass. Want me to go with you? Sophie offered. Nah, then I'd have to act all brave and stuff. Freaking out sounds way more fun. He tried to smile, but she could tell he was forcing it. I'm sorry, she said quietly. It isn't your fault, unless you snuck Aramark into my pockets. You got me. I knew you couldn't be as innocent as you seemed. No one is ever as innocent as they seem, Councillor Terek interrupted. It's one of the primary things I've learned as a Discrier. Everyone has potential for both good and bad. Foster's badness potential was off the charts, wasn't it? Councillor Terek laughed. Not as much as yours. Now let's get you to Elvin, shall we? He led them a few steps away, knocking on the air until he found the invisible exit to the snowy mountains outside. He used his pathfinder to create a beam of light. This path will take you straight to Foxfire. Please have Elvin send me an update when he's done. 2 Elvin visits in one day, Keith mumbled. Pretty sure that beats your record, Foster. I think it does, Sophie agreed sadly. He squared his shoulders. Well, all I can say is, Elvin better remove it all this time. If these fingers start glowing again, I'm going to recreate the Great Galan incident in his office. I thought you didn't have anything to do with that, Sophie reminded him. She still had no idea what the Great Galan incident even was, but apparently it had been one of Keith's greatest triumphs. He flashed a slightly wicked smile as he stepped into the path, but Sophie could see the tension in his posture as the light carried him away. What about you, Miss Foster? Councillor Derek asked, closing the door to block the freezing mountain wind. Where would you like me to take you? Back to Havenfield, Sandor answered for her, where I will be implementing additional safety protocols immediately. But what about Sylvanie? Sophie asked, turning to Councillor Terek. Whoever put that homing device on her knows she's here. What's to stop them from blowing up the whole sanctuary? Councillor Terek smiled. Well, I'm guessing it would be the same things that stopped them from doing that in the first place. After all, they went to quite a lot of trouble to put that device in a trail instead. Maybe... But still, don't you think it would be safer to hide somewhere no one knows about? She asked. I'm not sure such a place exists, Councillor Derek said gently. And even if it does, have you considered whether that would have been their plan all along? To trick us into moving Sylvanie? After all, she's far more valuable to Transit than she is within these walls, which, by the way, have been reinforced in ways you can't even imagine. I guarantee. No weapons exist that could make even the slightest breach. How can you be so sure? Sandor interrupted. You didn't know about the arrow mark, and it exists. So how do you know that no one developed a weapon without your knowledge? Councillor Derek's jaw set, and Sophie braced for him to yell. But when he spoke, his voice sounded more sad than angry. Our world is definitely experiencing some growing pains, but giving in to doubt or mistrust only helps the rebel's cause. Wouldn't you agree? Sandor studied him for a second before bowing his head. Yes, sir. Councillor Derek sighed. Try not to worry too much, Miss Foster. We need your mind focused and sharp for the healing on Friday. Wait, this Friday? Sophie repeated. As in 4 days from now? I suppose it is a bit sudden, but in light of all the contentation surrounding the healing, we felt it was better to be done sooner rather than later. How do people even know about it? Sophie had to ask. I thought it was classified. It is. It was supposed to be. But that was before. Before what? She asked when he didn't finish. Nothing you should trouble yourself with. Do you know how frustrating it is to constantly have people telling me not to worry? She asked. She wasn't sure if she was allowed to be so honest with the counselor, but she was too annoyed to care. Fortunately, Counselor Derek nodded kindly. I do know, Sophie, and I don't blame your frustration, but I need you to concentrate all of your energy on preparing for this healing. Finton's mind is ancient and strong. There's no way to know if the shattered pieces of his consciousness will find a way to resist you while you're working. Sophie's blood turned to ice at the thought. He placed a hand on her shoulder, guiding her to the mountain door. But Sophie had to ask one question before she could let the light carry her away. "You're sure feeling, healing Finton is the right thing to do?" she whispered, holding her breath as she waited for him to give her the yes she needed. Instead, he told her, "I hope so." Laughter echoed through the walls when Sophie and Sandor reached to Havenfield, and Sophie followed the sound to Jolie's bedroom, where she found Adeline sitting on the edge of the bed. All the lace curtains had been pulled back, flooding the room with sunlight, and dresses were piled over the floor. Before Sophie could ask what was going on, Biana appeared in a silky teal gown. "Well, look who finally showed up," she said, raising an eyebrow in Sophie's general direction. "I was starting to think you weren't coming back." "So was I," Adeline agreed, though she didn't seem worried about it. She actually looked calmer than Sophie had ever seen as she helped Biana with her sash. "Did you forget you were having a friend over?" Um, Sophie didn't remember inviting her, and Biana had never once come over by herself. "So, where were you?" Biana jumped in, avoiding Sophie's eyes. "And where's Keith? I thought I heard him say he'd be here after school." "He was planning to come over," Sophie said slowly, wondering if that was the real reason for Biana's visit. "But some stuff came up and he had to go see Elvin." "What?" Biana interrupted at the same time Adeline asked. "Is he okay?" "Yeah, he's fine. He just has to get another treatment." Sophie glanced at her fingers, needing to make sure they hadn't started glowing again. Adeline frowned. "And by another treatment, you mean that it's been kind of a crazy day," Sophie finished. "But I'm fine, I promise." She could tell Adeline was less than satisfied with that answer, but she wasn't going to get into that complicated explanation with Biana there. "So what are you guys doing in here?" Sophie asked, changing the subject quickly. "It looks like the closet threw up," Biana laughed. "Adeline said I could go through Jolie's clothes to see if there's anything I want to keep. And I swear she has the most amazing gowns ever. I mean, look!" She twirled, making the fabric of her dress shift from teal to silver and then back to teal. "Jolie had that dress custom made for our annual solstice gala," Adeline explained. "Every other thread is made of luminite. She wanted something that would shine like the moon when she danced. It was probably the most talked about thing at the party, even more than how many times Counselor Kenrick asked Counselor Orlai to dance." Sophie smiled. Imagining Kenrick following Orlai around like a lost puppy. She'd long suspected he had a crush on the blonde ringlet counselor, but she'd known Grady and Adeline were famous for their incredible parties. Or they were before their grief turned them into social recluses. But for some reason, she'd never pictured Jolie at any of them. Now she could imagine her flitting around the room like a princess at a ball, and something about the scene made her chest feel tight. It twisted even tighter when Adeline told Biana, "You know, I think this dress looks even better in you than it did on Jolie, and it matches your eyes perfectly." Biana's blush turned to a glow. "And you really don't mind if I take it?" "Of course not. I'll just get it packed away in a dust trunk. Otherwise, might as well put it to use." Biana squealed and turned again. "I can't believe you don't want any of these, Sophie." "Oh, that's true. I probably should have checked. Do you mind?" Adeline asked. "Of course not," Sophie promised, surprised at how thick her voice sounded. "You know, I'm not in fancy dresses. Plus, Della bought me a billion of them when I moved here." "Well, if you see anything in that pile you want," Biana pointed to a monster stack of frills, "you can totally have it back. Nah, they look way better on you." And they would. Sophie got attention because she was new and unique, and some people thought she was mysterious. But she would never be as beautiful as Biana. "Well, I'll leave you girls to talk," Adeline said, taking one last look at Biana as she headed for the door. When she closed it behind her, Sophie took Adeline's spot on the bed, not entirely sure what to say. "So," Biana mumbled, fiddling with her dress, "I know you're probably wondering why I'm here." "Kind of," Sophie admitted. I'm tired of always being left out. I know it's partially my fault because I've been a jerk to you a few times, but I'll never do that again. And I have a special ability now, and I really want to help with whatever you and Keith are working on. Sophie rubbed the star-shaped scar on her hand. You don't know what you're asking. Yes, I do. I was there after you and Tex escaped from the kidnappers. I saw how messed up you both were, and I was at the planting for you guys too. And everyone thought you were dead. Sophie squirmed, never sure what to feel when people told her they'd been to her funeral. The rebels had thrown her registry pendant into the ocean and made everyone believe she and Dex had drowned. So the council gave them special trees in the Wandering Woods, the elves' version of a cemetery, and held a big ceremony when the seeds were planted. The trees were still there, growing side by side. You can't take down a whole band of rebels on your own, Biana added quietly. And who else are you going to turn to? Black Swan? No, Sophie whispered. I can't trust them. Admitting out loud felt so much scarier. So trust me, Biana said as she sat next to Sophie on the bed. Sophie knew she should walk away and not drag any more of her friends. But she also needed more help. So when Biana whispered, please, Sophie reluctantly told her, okay.